Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to talk about a tragedy today that you've probably never even heard of. But believe it or not, it might just be the single most important crash in modern aviation history. It's a story that really gets down to how a few simple, totally routine words can end in disaster.
So how is that even possible? Well, we're going to dive right into the story of TWA Flight 514. This was an accident that came from a simple, almost unbelievable misunderstanding. But it's a misunderstanding that completely changed how pilots and air traffic controllers talk to each other, and it's the reason the sky is so much safer for all of us today.
All right, Section 1, a routine flight's fatal turn. We're talking about the final fateful hour of TWA 514. So picture this, it's December 1st, 1974. A Boeing 727 with 92 people on board is making its way to Washington, D.C. Now the weather wasn't perfect, a typical winter day, low clouds, some gusty winds, but it was really nothing an experienced crew couldn't handle. The flight started out completely normal, just a standard multi-stop trip. But as they got close to their final destination, Washington National Airport, the crosswinds just got way too strong. So they get the call, everybody's diverting to the nearby Washington Dulles Airport instead. A pretty routine change, all things considered.
I want to be clear here, this was not an emergency. Not at all. The captain, he had almost 9,000 flight hours. The crew knew Dulles like the back of their hand. And the Boeing 727, well, that was a state-of-the-art aircraft for its time. So from a flying perspective, this little change of plans was no big deal. It was just business as usual. So as they start their approach into Dulles, air traffic control gives them this clearance. It's a totally standard technical phrase that pilots hear all the time. But on this particular day, those exact words held a deadly secret. An ambiguity that nobody, not in the cockpit and not on the ground, had any idea was there.
Okay, so this brings us to the core of the problem, the ambiguous clearance. This is all about how the pilots and the controllers heard two completely different things. What happened next? Well, it just blows up in this huge gap in communication, a gap that was lurking in the entire aviation system at the time. A misunderstanding was about to happen, and the consequences would be catastrophic. So, inside the cockpit, the crew immediately springs in action. The captain looks at his approach chart. He sees the number 1,800 feet listed as the starting altitude for the approach, and the first officer starts the descent. Simple as that. In their minds, cleared for the approach meant one thing and one thing only. We can now go down to the first altitude on the page.
And this is where everything goes wrong. It's this total disconnect. From the pilot's point of view, cleared for approach means, okay, ATC is watching us, the path is clear, I can start down to 1,800 feet right now. But for the controller, cleared for approach meant something totally different. It meant, okay, you're on your own now, you navigate the whole procedure, including all the different altitude steps. So you have two groups of professionals hearing the exact same words but understanding them in two completely opposite ways.
And their decision to start down right away was backed up by a common technique back then called dive and drive. It's not like the smooth, gradual descents we have today. Nope. Back in the 70s, pilots were often trained to descend as fast as they could to the minimum altitude for that section of the approach and then just fly level. It was totally normal, standard procedure.
But here's the fatal catch, the one detail that changes everything. That descent to 1,800 feet, it was only safe after you passed a specific checkpoint called Round Hill. Before that point, the Blue Ridge Mountains were in the way, and you absolutely had to be at a much higher altitude. So the crew of TWA 514, they were descending, completely blind, right toward a mountain they had no idea was there.
And this is why the investigation was so important. It led to the realization that this was a system primed for failure. This wasn't just one crew making a mistake. It was a vulnerability baked into the whole industry. As the investigators started putting the pieces together, they saw that the confusion on TWA 514 was just a symptom of a much, much bigger problem.
The whole system had these hidden flaws, right? The definition of a radar arrival was murky. It meant one thing to a pilot and another to a controller. You had outdated training manuals still floating around, influencing how pilots flew, even when the official rules had changed. And maybe the biggest thing? A kind of dangerous assumption had crept in. Pilots had started to believe that as long as they were on ATC's radar, the controller was taking care of keeping them away from mountains.
And if you need proof that this was a system-wide issue, look no further. Just a few weeks before the crash, a United Airlines flight, flying the exact same approach into Dulles, got a similar clearance and did the exact same thing. They started down to 1,800 feet way too early. They only missed hitting the mountain by sheer dumb luck.
Now, that United pilot knew they dodged a bullet. So he filed a safety report about it. But here's the problem. Back then, there was no way to share that kind of information across the entire industry. So that critical warning, it got stuck inside United's internal system. It never made it to the FAA, it never made it to other airlines, which means TWA had absolutely no idea that this dangerous trap was waiting for them.
And this is what makes the story just absolutely heartbreaking. Just 30 minutes before the crash, another plane, an American Airlines flight, was on the same approach. They got the same confusing clearance, but that captain, he hesitated. He asked the controller, "Hey, can you just confirm that altitude for me?" And the controller gave him a safe altitude. If the TWA crew had just been on that frequency, if they had just overheard that one simple question, this whole disaster might never have happened.
All right, so out of this tragedy came some incredibly important changes. These are the lessons that keep you safe. The investigation into TWA 514 was a real watershed moment. It wasn't about pointing fingers. It forced the entire industry to rethink its whole approach to safety, and that led directly to reforms that protect you on every single flight you take today.
The official term for this kind of crash is controlled flight into terrain, or CIFIT for short, and it's one of the scariest types of accidents out there. It's when a perfectly good airplane, completely under the control of the pilots, is unintentionally flown right into the ground, or a mountain, or some other obstacle. The crew often has no idea anything is wrong until the final terrible seconds.
Now here's the thing. A piece of technology called the Ground Proximity Warning System, or GPWS, had actually been invented to stop exactly this from happening. It basically uses radar to look down and screams a warning if the ground is getting too close too fast. We're talking an unmistakable terrain-terrain pull-up. Had Flight 514 had this system, it would have given the crew a life-saving warning. But back in 1974, it wasn't required. So, as a direct result of this crash, the industry attacked the problem from 3 different angles. First, standardized language. The FAA created a common rulebook so pilots and controllers are always speaking the same language. No more ambiguity. Second, mandatory technology. That GPWS system, it became required on all big airliners, providing a final, life-saving backstop. And third, anonymous reporting. NASA set up a system so any pilot or controller could report a safety concern without any fear of getting in trouble. One person's close call could now become a lesson for everyone.
So this is your modern safety net. The next time you're on a plane, just think about it. You've got clear, standardized phrases for every critical moment. You have automated warnings in the cockpit that are always watching the ground. You have a culture where people are encouraged to speak up about safety. And you have crystal clear rules about who is responsible for what. All of these things, which were paid for by the 92 souls on TWA 514, are the very foundation of modern aviation safety.
And really, the crucial point here is that this kind of systemic safety doesn't just happen on its own. It's built, piece by piece, lesson by painful lesson, from tragedies just like this one. The legacy of this flight is the understanding that safety isn't about hoping individuals never make a mistake. It's about building a robust system with so many layers of protection that when one person or one piece of tech fails, and it will, another layer is there to catch the error.
So what other invisible systems are out there keeping our complex world safe? I mean, the story of TWA 514 is such a powerful reminder that so many of the safety nets we take for granted every day were actually born from failure. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible protections are all around us, built from painful lessons that we may never even know were learned?